President Zelensky has been very, very interesting person, definitely. Now, we talk about him in many different terms. Like for Russians, he's now a sworn enemy. He is a person that the Russians are actively looking to kill. Many schemes have been discovered against President Zelensky, including from some of the very, very close ones. Like there has been recently uncovered details of an assassination plot where some of his colonels, like in side of Zelensky's security services, like imagine in US it's like Secret Service. Imagine some of the high-ranking staff in the Secret Service for Ukraine, an analog, were plotting to kill President Zelensky. That was the how deep the infiltration and the Russian ability to find traitors within Ukraine has been. Yet Zelensky has been also somewhat of a divisive figure, especially when we're talking about who he was when he came to power. Now, President Zelensky came to presidency through a very unique set of circumstances. First and foremost, you definitely knew that he was an actor, and some people still refer to him that he's so supposedly some kind of a comedian or something, but that is not actually true. Firstly, he has a law degree, so he is not like just a person that doesn't know what he's talking about. But secondly, which I think is even more importantly, is that while he did start early his career journey as a comedian, later he became a manager of not just a comedic troupe, but like a whole comedy machine. They were producing both content and concerts and so on, and he was the owner and the manager of all of this. So he has been in the ruling positions for a while now, and he has been a self-made man. He didn't really had any major oligarchs or a lot of dirty money backing him. That doesn't say that he never dealt in any kind of underhanded activities. Most likely he did, like we're talking about Eastern Europe here. Though, to be honest, looking at the Western Europe right now, we cannot really distinguish that far. But more importantly, he came to power after the show was pretty popular. The show in which he played a role of a person that's coming supposedly from a simple background that was a history teacher, and the show was called The Servant of the People. And then kind of following that show's success, Zelensky sort of stated that he's going to be participating in running against the president at the time, President Poroshenko. And he ran on a platform of bringing the country back together. Specifically, he wanted to say that Poroshenko just doesn't know how to speak to Putin, and Zelensky is the person to do it, because Zelensky's native language is Russian. He learned Ukrainian over time and actually learned a lot of Ukrainian specifically during the presidential campaign. There is pretty fun videos of him where he has been, while speaking in Russian, he had a Ukrainian language tutor asking him how a specific interesting and like very, very difficult Ukrainian word is, and then asking Zelensky to translate it. And if Zelensky doesn't translate it correctly, then he needs to do a pull-up. So that was a pretty interesting. So you could see as Zelensky did know certain words or didn't know certain words in Ukrainian, and then he did certain pull-ups. That's a nice promotional campaign, I think. But more importantly, as I explained, he came to this challenge with Poroshenko, stating that he understands Russians and he understands Putin, and he can come and he can start talking with Putin, that he can stop this war that has been ongoing from 2014, which is kind of ironic now looking back, is it not? And that he did. Now, Zelensky came in a very hostile time of relationships. As you can see, Zelensky wasn't here really any kind of a mature personality, so to say. Like, he didn't really had like a major aura of a person that is about to dictate what kind of a politics will be there between Russia and Ukraine. But at that moment, we had President Macron and Merkel, which were pretty much one mind. This was the format that was used for Russia to do what they're doing right now, basically drag for time. And those were the two suckers that Russia was able to find at the time to kind of convince them that Russia wants all that well, and that these European leaders just need to convince Zelensky that they need to just be more cooperative or some bullshit like that. And that time, that was indeed what was happening. So Zelensky was there, and once he reached this format, he was actually surprised by just how, not hostile, but how much pressure was there exerted on Ukraine to just give up everything and for Russia to just kind of receive everything. And Zelensky, while he kind of came in, you can describe this as naivete, that's like that there is not going to be any kind of negotiations with Putin, but he just might not have understood at the time. But Zelensky was very firm from the beginning that he will not give away any Ukrainian positions, that he will just negotiate in good faith, because he really was hoping that there is some kind of a negotiated solution to be achieved. But what he was met with is specifically like a sucker trap, that Putin, that just wanted everything, and then Merkel and Macron just were ready to give Putin everything if they just can put a little bit more pressure on this naive, child-looking, if you put it like this, person over here. Unfortunately, it didn't go well, and Putin really despised Zelensky at that moment. This is where Putin despised Zelensky, because initially he was a bit optimistic. He was ready, like now that Poroshenko that was resisting, and Poroshenko kind of comes in, sort of has like an aura that he's supported by more of a Ukrainian, more radical wing of Ukraine that is supporting Poroshenko. Since then, Zelensky kind of was, because he's a person that comes from the east of Ukraine, that he's speaking Russian, and Putin was actually expecting that Zelensky is just going to start giving way to all of them demands, but Zelensky was always there specifically for Ukraine. And that drove Putin absolutely mad. But he also saw Zelensky as weak, because Zelensky essentially came unprepared. He didn't have any resolution. And that was basically the seed, one might say, that kind of drew us into the further aggression. Now, I want to be very precise here with the words. Putin would have attacked anyway. Like, the only thing that drew him more mad is because Zelensky didn't want to just sell out Ukraine. And Putin just got mad because of it, and he wanted to additionally, specifically punish Zelensky personally. It has nothing to do with the fact that Putin would or would not attack. This needs to be very clear. He would have attacked anyway, because these plans, as we found out later, in some of the leaks and hacks of the Russian assets, these plans were in preparation long before the presidential campaign of Zelensky even started. So that's just be sure to not fall for this red herring. But then the full-scale invasion starts, and we discover who Zelensky truly is. That behind this baby face, thank you so much in chat for pointing it out. So behind this baby face, naive person are actually balls of steel. That when the push came to shove, when there is an actual threat, when it was expected by everyone that Russia is just going to roll over Ukraine, that Russia is just going to take over, and there is absolutely no chance for Ukraine to stand against Russia, when the tanks were rolling towards Kyiv seemingly in unstoppable quantities, that they had horizon to horizon level columns rolling up with ammunition and vehicles and armed forces, and Ukraine supposedly kind of caught sort of a pants down. This is where Zelensky showed that he has the balls of steel, and that the only thing that they need for the fight is ammunition rather than a ride and some kind of savior. This was the turning point for both Ukraine, and I think it was the starting point for revitalization, because as same as Zelensky built up Ukraine, in the same sense, the the culture that was spirited in Ukraine and was boiling in the latest years as Zelensky was coming to power, the spirit of independence, the spirit of resistance, that spirit has been also the one that made Zelensky as well. And this all merged for Ukrainians. And from there, the grueling process started.